I'm going to show you how to take a $4 bag of dry beans and turn it into about 16 jars of prepared beans for only 25 cents per jar. We're going to start by sorting all the beans. Just look through them, see if you see any rocks or pebbles or shriveled looking beans or anything, and then we're going to give them a quick rinse. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a half cup, wherever it went, a half cup of beans to each jar. And then we're going to fill it with water, a teaspoon of salt, and see how many jars we get. Like so. Probably don't even need the funnel, but I can't find my half or my wide mouth funnel, so we're just going to make do with what we have. Alright, it actually looks like we have a little bit more than 16 jars, but I think instead of getting another one, I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle a little bit more in every jar. Not much, just a little, just to top it off. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these jars up to the 1-inch line. If you'll read in the ball canning book, each one of these lines represents a point of measurement. So the 1 inch is going to be right about the bottom line there. So we are starting with a cold canner. So what we're going to do is cold water, cold jar, cold canners, and that will help everything warm up together and quickly, and that way you don't have any busted jars. A lot of times the shock from like cold jars and hot liquid, that's a big no-no, so make sure you're starting out with all either hot or all either cold. We're going to do cold today, so let's get that going. And I suppose if you felt more comfortable using the hot method, you could warm up your water and then have your canner already started, and probably go ahead and use your jars maybe fresh out of the dishwasher, and that way they'd still be warm. But this way is just easiest for me, so we're gonna go with it. So earlier I had mentioned that we were going to have a teaspoon of salt. It's actually a half a teaspoon, so made a little mistake there, but let's go ahead and add that. I'm using Baja Gold sea salt and Celtic salt. You can use canning salt, you can use regular table salt, it doesn't really matter. Table salt might make it a little bit foggy, but it's beans, so you're not really going to tell if they're foggy or not. So I say just use what you have on hand or what you're comfortable with as far as ingredients. So I have I think it's a chopstick, whatever you want. I don't have a debubbler, but this is just to give them just a little whirl and see those air bubbles that come up. You don't want those making your headspace off, so we're just going to go ahead and give each one of them a little whirl. Debubble them. Canned beans on hand. For me, it's just really quick. What we do with them most of the time is use them for refried beans when we have tacos. My daughter really likes bean and cheese burritos, and this is just a little bit more economical than buying refried beans in cans. From what I could tell when I went to the store, it looked like the absolute cheapest ones were about 98 cents a can. So this is roughly about the same size, about a pint, and they equal out to be about 25 cents a jar. So you can control your ingredients, you can use whatever spices that you like. So, you know, for me, that's kind of a win. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to wipe the rims of each jar. This just helps them seal better. If you don't have, it's not so important with this, but you never want to have any grease or wetness or jelly or anything like that on the rim of the jar, because it can cause problems with the sealing. So we're going to go ahead and make sure each one is clean. Some people wipe the rims with a rag dipped in vinegar, and I do when I can things that are greasy, if you're canning meat or anything like that. But with this, it's just water and salt, so I'm not really too worried about it. So I'm just using a dry paper towel. Okay, everything looks good there. If I didn't mention it, this way of doing the beans is considered the Rebel method. I believe in the Ball Blue Book. Sorry guys, things are getting a little wild on the stove. If you are doing it by the Blue Ball canning book method, you are supposed to soak the beans first. So that is the only really major difference. It probably is the better method, but I'm always short on time, and this has always worked really well for me. I've seen plenty of people do it, so I'm comfortable doing this method. If you aren't, you know, by all means, soak the beans. So, another thing, we're doing this a little bit different. We're actually using Harvest Guard reusable lids. So these are a two-part lid. You have the top and you have the gaskets. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put them on the jars, and then you tighten the lids just barely, tighten the rings just barely. It's kind of like the way lids used to be, the two-part system. I would say that these are a little bit less reliable than the jars, or not the jars, the lids, like the metal lids, the one-piece lids. Since I have a freeze dryer, I'm comfortable with that. If I have one or two jars that don't seal, it is not a big deal. I just use them up really quick, or I will take them out and put them in the freeze dryer, and we'll just have freeze-dried refried beans. If I didn't have that backup method, I definitely would be a little bit more cautious. It kind of seems, I think the reusable idea is fantastic. What we're gonna do is we're gonna set our little rubber gasket on there, followed by the lid. I'm gonna go ahead and do that for every jar. Oops, maybe. Okay. I've tried the Tatler brand and I've tried the Harvest Guard brand. Like them both. I have had issues with both. It's such a good idea. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I would love to learn if I am or if I'm not, because if you could get 100% seal rate or close to it, that would be amazing. Not to have to buy the lids. Okay, so on the website for Harvest Guard, it says to put your finger on top and then only tighten it until the jar begins to spin. So just barely, probably less than what you would tighten it, or what you would consider fingertip tight. So we're gonna go ahead and get that done. This lid, or this ring, is a bit crooked. May have to get us a new one. That looks kind of like it's seen better days. Okay. Okay, so since the jars are not hot, I'm going to go ahead and just set them down in there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the stove on so everything can start heating up. I'm going to go ahead and put this other plate in here. Okay, and on to the next layer. I like doing the beans in wide mouth jars, and that way when I do make them into refried beans, you can just stick a stick blender right in there and you don't have to switch containers, dirty another dish, anything like that. So let's make a bit more room. And of course, if you like your refried beans with garlic or anything like that, any flavors and cumin, anything, you can add that in here. You can can it with them, or you can just add it when you're blending things up. So we've got that on roughly a little bit below high. I already added some vinegar to it, just about maybe 1/4 cup or so onto the bottom of the dill. Make sure you have water about 1 inch or so on the bottom, and then you are ready to go ahead and put your lid on, and we're going to wait for steam to come out of the top for about 10 minutes before we put our weight on. So always remember to have your thing checked every year, and make sure and clean your rim and your gasket and everything, and your steam release still. That way everything is good to go and you won't have any issues. You don't have to be worried about your gauge being off or anything. So we will come back whenever we have a good deal of steam coming out. Alright, as you can tell, there's lots of steam coming out. Our timer for our 10 minutes just went off. So we're going to go ahead and carefully add our weight. Okay, so for my elevation, we're going to do 10 pounds of pressure. So we're just going to watch the gauge until it comes out to 10, and then we'll adjust our heat to keep it there. 4 pints, which is what we're doing, my process time is 75 minutes. Our pressure gauge is at 0, and the little thing has gone down, so we're going to go ahead and remove the weight, and it looks good. I'm not going to remove the lid, but I am going to go ahead and unscrew it a little bit and just kind of let it sit for about 10 more minutes. Alright, it is time to get these out. Okay, so this is going to be very hot. What we're going to do is we're going to take them all out, put them on this rag, and then we're going to need to take 2 rags and tighten down the lids. You don't put them on very tight to put them in, but you do tighten them after the fact. So as you can tell, you can't really tell, they're not bubbling too much anymore, but they are, they poofed up and they're taking up the whole jar now, whereas they were just a little bit at the bottom when we first filled it up. So I just take it and then, just make sure it's good and tight, like that. Sometimes they work themselves a little bit loose. These seem to be okay though. So now I'm going to show you how that we just make the refried beans right in the jar. This one is still boiling, so it's going to be very hot. But we are having tacos tonight and I am out, so we're going to try to open the jar. Okay. Okay, and it's already trying to seal. See, you can pick it up by the lid. That right there is how you tell if these reusable canning lids, because they don't ping, but you can pick it up by the rim and it's already sealed. So what we're going to do is use this handy little can opener, and since it's so hot, you just pop it open like that. I'm going to go ahead and drain out a little bit of the juice. So we're going to go ahead and put this right here. Use our stick blender. And there you have it. In like 15 seconds, you have a jar of refried beans. Now, let's have our taste tester come over and try them out. Over here. Okay, sorry. I had to make sure they weren't hot. They're still kind of hot. Okay. Are they good? Alright, I hope you guys will give this a try. Pressure canning really isn't as scary as most people seem to think it is. Follow your directions to get you the Ball Blue book, Blue canning book, or there's several canning books by Ball, or you can go to their website Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it encouraged you, and I hope that you will look into living life the old way. There are so many things that we've done in the past that are better and simple and cost saving, and we really enjoy it, and I hope you do too. Thanks.